it's different strokes for like different artists. You know what I'm saying? It's like you got the Logics or you got Chance. You know what I'm saying? Like the situation with Logic probably ain't work for Chance, or the situation with Chance probably ain't gonna work for Logic. Like when you independent, you gotta have your money right. You gotta pay for studio, you gotta pay for traveling. Even some artists, you still gotta pay for features. You know what I'm saying? Your own living ability. You know what I'm saying? So if you ain't got it, then it's like it's going downhill. You know what I'm saying? And some artists that work with labels, you a priority is different. Like he probably not be a priority inside the label, but he is. So he gonna get all the looks, he gonna get all the shine and charted songs, but he not, cause he ain't no priority. So, but he the man in the independent world. So it can work both ways. So I won't tell you not to get signed, or I won't tell you to stay independent. You know what I'm saying? Just work what's best for you.
Yo, what's good, people? Sean here, rapper turned author / entrepreneur. Check me out for entertainment and industry advice. Welcome to Cole's Corner. Right here, we have got Lil Durk talking about the pros and cons of signing to a label or staying independent. I've chose this because I think this dives on a topic that I've already addressed, and this is something that I really want to hammer home to you guys. Now, as I've already said before, and I will reiterate, I am not somebody who says they support labels or anything like that. I'm just someone who can be objective, and I can say the pros and the cons, because I do think a lot of people these days, they slam record labels and they don't ever talk about the positives. And I think, although I do agree that record labels do not have artists' best interest and they are out to basically bleed you dry, I do think they can produce some positive things for artists. But let's unpack what he said so then you can get a bit more understanding of what we're talking about here, okay? So, starting off, he was saying about if you're independent, you've got to have your money right. This is a very important factor, and I think this is why a lot of independent artists struggle. This is the truth, because if you want to try and get, again, as we was talking before, if you want to get to a certain level as an independent artist, unless you've got crazy money, you're just not going to get anywhere. So you might be able to generate a buzz to a certain level, okay, cool. But for example, if you wanted to be like an artist like Drake, it's damn near impossible to do if you're not signed to a label. Why? You haven't got the resources. The way, for example, a feature, for example, you as an independent artist, it's very unlikely you're going to get an artist like, let's just say, Jay-Z to come and jump on your song. Because for one, they usually charge for features. Unless you're an artist like, for example, Drake, where they'll do what's called a swap. A swap is where basically they're not charging you for the feature, but they're gonna ask for a verse for their album, and then in return they will want a verse for the other artist's album. So Jay-Z does a verse for Drake on a song on his album, and Drake does a verse for Jay-Z on his album. Neither of them charge each other, it's free, but because they're both so high up, they're both gonna get support off of it and exposure because they're both hot artists. Neither of them really need to charge each other. But if you've got, for example, an up and coming rapper who's not proven themselves to a level of Drake or anything like that, and let's just say this is their first debut album, then yeah, Jay-Z's gonna look at them and say, okay, you might be generating a little buzz right now, but I don't know where you're gonna be in 2-3 years time. So yeah, until you prove yourself that you're really where this can actually benefit me as well, then I'm going to charge you for the feature. And a Jay-Z verse, do you know how much that kind of money is going to cost? Nicki Minaj says in the beginning of her career, she was charging not at the beginning of her career, when she was getting big. So let's say when Pink Friday was dropping, right? She was charging like $250K for a verse. So how much do you think Jay-Z's charging for a verse? There you go. So if you haven't got this kind of money where you can try and compete with these kind of people, like a record label who've got the money and they've got the resources, again, because with a record label, even if they haven't got the money, they've got the connections. They've already got the connections and the establishment. so they can get a verse off of the strength of their connections and what a record label can also help Jay-Z with in the future. This is the kind of thing that happens when you're in the industry like that. You've got these kind of ties. They can help each other out, so they might do it as a favor for the record label, but then Jay-Z might turn to that record label and say, hey, you know, let's just say, for example, you know, you help me with my distribution on my next album or something, you know, maybe you cut down my distribution fees or something like that. You give me some kind of deal where we can benefit each other. Again, this is a business, please understand that. So unless you've got the money to really finance this, and you know, I know that people say that, you know, you can create an album in your house nowadays and whatnot. Yes, that is true, but if you want it to sound the quality of what the peers are in the rap game, and you want to be on the level of, you know, these top tier artists like the J. Coles and the Kendrick Lamars, then doing it in your bedroom is not going to cut it. You need to go to a proper studio, you need to sit with a proper producer, have it properly mixed and mastered and properly produced. So unless you've got the money to do that, your albums are going to sound subpar, and again, that can affect you growing as an artist, because they might listen to it and say, yeah, it's good, but like the quality ain't great though. It doesn't sound like a Kendrick album. You can't really compare the two. They're not, you know what I mean? And this is why I talk about signing to a record label, because I know there's a lot of people out there who are aspiring artists and they look up to people like J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, and let's even just go for the more, you know, poppy artists like DaBaby, Lil Baby, etc. All these artists, you want to sound like these guys and be at the level that they're at. Hey, if you want to do that, unless you've got ridiculous money, it's not really going to work for you. Now let's move on to the next thing he said, because this is another important thing that I want to touch on. He says about being a priority, and I think this is an important thing for you guys to understand, and this is where I'll tell you is like the darker side of the music industry. So what he means by being a priority is, it means how big of an artist are you to them, how valuable of an artist are you to the record label. So let's just say, for example, now I'm a rapper, right? I'm an up and coming rapper. I've managed to get a bit of a buzz going, and the record label are like, hey, we want to sign you, we want to, you know, help you achieve your dreams and release an album, whatever. So let's say I sign to this record label now, yeah? Okay. Now let's say the record company that I'm signed to also has Kanye West signed to them, okay? Kanye West would be looked at as a priority artist. Why? Because he's a veteran in the game. He sold millions of records. Everybody knows him. He's famous. He's successful through music. He is an artist that is valuable to the record label. So he's classed as a priority to them. So let's just say now I've worked a full year non-stop grinding to make my album, okay? Now you have to then look at Kanye just turns around and says, hey, let's just say you've worked up to release your album, right? And you've been given your release date, and your release date is next month, okay? It's next month's time. And then Kanye West says, hey, you know what? I've been working in the studio just playing the band stuff, and I just want to drop an album next month. The record label are going to look at you, and then they're going to look at Kanye West, and they're going to say, anything you say, Mr. West, drop it next month, that's absolutely fine. They'll then turn around to me and say, hey, sorry about this, but we've kind of got another artist dropping next month, and we need to kind of put all our focus into him right now, so you're going to have to stand back. Now, you as an artist, you've put your heart and soul into this music, you've done everything that you need to do, and you just want it out to the world. You're ready for this to be released. You can't drop it though, because they're now putting all their time and their resources and their money into Kanye West. Why? Because he's more of a proven artist. He's more than likely gonna be successful. You're unknown rapper right now. Yeah, you've got a bit of a buzz, but let's compare your buzz of what you've got to Kanye West. Who's going to be the person who's going to bring the record label more money, i.e. sell more records? It's going to be Kanye West, hands down, unless you do something freakish and happen to be Kanye West, but that's not likely. The record company are going to look at it as, this guy's got a proven track record, we know what kind of money he can make us. We don't know with this guy right now. Yeah, we've signed him, but we don't know how much he's really gonna sell. He might flop for all we know. So to them, I'm not a priority. And this is what they mean when they say, are you a priority or not? And this is where it's the dark side of the industry, because this is where you can get what they call shelved, because it's basically them putting you to the side for other artists who they know can bring them more money than you, and so you're just kind of then waiting on the sideline. So even after they're finished, they'd set that date for you, then you might say to them, so okay, like, when can I do my album then, you know? And they might say, just, we've got a few more artists now, like, we kind of had that date set for you, so now we're gonna have to kind of push you to the side because we've got a few other artists we need to deal with as well. So you just wait over there. Again, this is your hard-earned blood, sweat and tears of music that you've made, of art that you want to release. And this is why artists get frustrated with these kinds of things, because they want to release music but they can't, and the record label won't allow them to release the music. And so because they're signed to a record deal, they legally can't release the music on their own terms. There has to be agreed with the record company, and that's what they mean by being a priority. So this is where I say about the harder side of being on a record label. But again, you've got the swings and roundabouts. Have you got the kind of money where if you wanted to make an album, you wanted to be with the top tier artists, you wanted to be with, you know, making tracks with Drake and Jay-Z and Kendrick Lamar, have you got the money, the finances to be able to pay for that? Have you got the finances to be able to make an album that sounds as professional as a Kendrick Lamar or J. Cole album? Probably not. And this is where a lot of the underground artists and a lot of the kids who are probably going to watch this, who are aspiring rappers, are going to get stuck because they think, oh, I can just be independent and whatever. Cool, but independent's only going to get you so far if you haven't really got the money to make it sound as good as you want it to sound. Do you see what I'm saying? Now listen, this is not me saying you've got to sign a record deal. If you're happy at the level that you're at, then you can stay at that level and still be successful. But my point being is, when people get to levels like Kendrick Lamar and Jay-Z, there's levels to this, you know, there's levels to this to get into that kind of quality and that kind of stardom. So you've got to decide what the choice is of what you want to make, what kind of artist do you want to be. Are you happy being the more kind of underground artist where you're not on the TV and everywhere or anything like that? Or is that what you want? Do you want everybody to know your name and be on the billboards in the streets and things like that? That's the decision that you've got to weigh up in your own mind and decide what artist you want to be. Okay?
Hey guys, thank you very much for watching the video. Really hope you enjoyed it and found something informative in this. If you did, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and feel free to share with other people. And don't forget, you can catch me on the socials as you can see above. Peace.